Cool. So yeah, the so tonight, like I said, I just want to talk about like some life lessons that there's opportunities to recognize and notice life lessons just in everyday happenings. Like you think it's just a simple little thing that went on, but the kind of list of things I'm going to be talking about, as to give examples, is anything from having a pedicure to borrowing something from someone, asking for a favor, taking a shower, enjoying your work, practicing a PMA, which is a positive mental attitude. That's the quick list that I'm just going to throw out there, and then I'm going to go in and talk about them a little bit further. So something like having a pedicure, for instance. Hold on, Kathy. Grateful for having this week off and setting boundaries with potential clients last week. Love time off, love boundaries. Nice job, Kathy. So life lessons in a pedicure. Like what? Now, I didn't have the pedicure, but my mother's best friend, Teresa, 85 years old, had her very first pedicure, I think yesterday or something. 85 years old, first pedicure. She had to be gently talked into it. She was self-conscious about her feet, or, what if I don't like it? But 85 years old and had her very first pedicure, and she loved it, right? She absolutely loved it. And you think, okay, cool, she had a pedicure, but like for her, that was really like stepping out of her comfort zone, taking a risk, trusting, she and my mother are visiting with my sister, so trusting my sister, who was encouraging her to do it, trusting the stranger to give her the pedicure, and, to be gentle with her or whatnot. So even though it was just a pedicure, she really exhibited important life skills, right, that allows you to really live out loud. Like I talk about this desire to really live a full and exciting life. So she's, up there visiting and has this pedicure, and I think about, good for her, like 85 years old, having a pedicure for the first time was a real out of her comfort zone thing. It's similar to, it's another kind of what will sound like a silly example, but this past weekend, I was at my in-laws helping them with a moving sale, and Melissa's grandmother was there, and she's 92, and she tried mango for the first time. So there's this thought from me, as I get older, like I'm getting to a stage in my life, which is really new and weird for me, where I'm like, holy shit, where did the time go? Like kind of freaking out a little bit with, you mean I'm not 30 anymore, So when I see things like Teresa getting her first pedicure in her life, or Nan trying mango for the first time, although they seem like silly little things, it helps me to look at that and go, you know what? There is new and exciting things at any age, 85, 92, whatever, that, life doesn't stop. Like, it's your choice if you want to continue to step out of that comfort zone, to try something new, to take a risk. And I know having a pedicure doesn't sound like a risk, but in a sense it is, because you're relinquishing control, you're putting your trust in others, you're showing yourself that you're worthy, you're deserving, you deserve to be nurtured. So I just think that's great. So these examples, as I continue to go through them, is just an opportunity for you to shift your perspective a little bit about everyday events. Now, whether it's good things that happen or challenging things that happen, you can always reframe the situation so you can really settle in and enjoy it, like settle into the joy, or you can also get out of the frustration and the challenge of it by reframing the situation as well. So, right, Mary? Doesn't she look amazing? Like, there was a picture online of Teresa and my mom, and she looks amazing. I know, she is an amazing, amazing woman. Sweetest, they are the cutest, bestest friends in the world. I just love them both. They're so sweet. So Kathy's never had a pedi or mani either. Kathy, get one. Whether it's a pedi or a mani, treat yourself. It's something that is just, I haven't had a pedicure in a while. It's time. There's something that's just so nurturing about it. So I would highly recommend it. So there's so much more that's wrapped up in it than it just seems, right? So similar to transitioning to the next example, borrowing a tool. So Miss and I need a certain tool for our tiny house project, and rather than, we try not to go out and just buy it because we're just going to need it temporarily. So we think, like, who might have something like this? And I think of my brother. He's got a lot of different kinds of unique tools and equipment, and he had the exact thing we needed. And so I asked him if we could borrow it. He said, sure, absolutely. And, he lives over an hour away from me, and so we were trying to coordinate how I was going to get it. I said, I'm happy to drive up to you and get it. You're nice enough to lend it to me. And, him being who he is, was like, no, I'd be happy to meet you halfway or whatnot. So he was actually traveling someplace yesterday that brought him pretty close to where I live. And so he said, why don't I just take a little bit of a detour and I can meet you and give you the tool. And I thought that would be great. And so it's like, again, something that's very simple, right? I asked my brother if I could borrow something. He said yes, offered to bring it to me. That in and of itself sounds really simple and ordinary and maybe everyday. But again, as someone who has trouble asking for help and likes to give and has trouble receiving, it gives me this opportunity for, like, wow, how nice that he was willing to let me borrow it, to bring it to, to go a little bit out of his way, from his regular travel, probably a little bit more than a little bit out of his way, given the traffic in this area, to bring me the tool. And so, it makes me just sit back and, like, after I left him, I was like, man, he's just such a good guy, like, not just because he did that for me, but because he did it so genuinely and authentically. There's never any giving to get with him. It's just a genuine, like, I want to help, happy to help. And so I got to really revel in kind of how appreciative I am of him, and also just that I feel safe enough asking him for help, or, asking him if I can borrow something, because I know that there's no strings, there's no hidden agendas. There's just like, yeah, I have that, or no, I don't, I don't know if it's a guy thing, like, Missy asked her brothers too, they didn't happen to have this exact tool we needed, and so they were like, no, sorry, I don't, and I said to Missy, I'm like, well, didn't they even ask why we need it? And she's like, no. And I'm like, oh yeah, I guess that's, like, guys are just, they're just like, matter of fact, and I'm like, as me, I'd be like, no, I don't, but that's an interesting tool, why do you need it? Anyway, so it's like, it was just refreshing, like, what was most refreshing about it is how clean and unencumbered the exchange was, right? And so a simple exchange like that, I can leave there feeling just satisfied, right? Like, just easy, complete, appreciative. And although it's just borrowing a tool, there's that opportunity to just really appreciate what is around it. Does that make sense? So again, it's just like, it was an opportunity for me to practice receiving help, and gratitude, and feeling worthy of being helped. So just a beautiful thing. And similar, I'm going to jump right to the next example, because it tag teams nicely. My beautiful and brilliant and hysterical niece, Lindsay, at the moving sale that I was helping my in-laws with this past week, they were selling a couple beach chairs, and when I put a picture up, she's like, oh, those are really nice beach chairs, I'll buy those. And she was going to come out and get them, and then realized that it's quite a drive. I was surprised she was going to come out and get them, because it's like an hour and a half one way. And so she asked me if I'd be willing to take them home for her. And absolutely, at first I was honest, and I said, geez, I'm not really sure if we're going to have the space. I know that sounds ridiculous, but we really were pretty filled up with other stuff. But then Missy's brother was there, who lives near us. Long story short, we were able to easily bring them home for her. And I thought, you know what? Again, a simple little example, but I thought, good for her for asking for help. Like, just asking for a favor, and not, so often I think we are so hesitant to ask for help because we're quick to answer for the other person, like, oh, I don't want to ask, they're probably too busy, or I don't want to ask because I don't want to put them out, or, we take responsibility for the other person's response, when why not just ask, and if they can't, trust them to say no. If they say yes when they meant no, then that's their problem and not yours, right? that's why I said to Lindsay, I'll see what I can do. I can't make you any promises. And then I was able to very easily figure out a way to get him home. And so I said to her, I got him, But I was so proud of her for asking for help, and not assuming that she'd be putting me out, and hopefully trusting me enough to know that if I couldn't, I would be honest with her. I wouldn't say yes and then be resentful. So again, I guess that's a similar to my brother's situation, because it was just clean communication, like no misinterpretation, no trying to like figure out what the other one's saying. I love clean communication. I just say what you mean and mean what you say. Please, little side note, please, just say what you mean and mean what you say. I hate the guessing game. I digress. Yes, Mira, you're right. He has always been kind and easygoing. He's so sweet. Carol, when you ask for someone's help, they often feel honored. I do, at least. Totally, right? Like, that's something I'm learning. I know I am happy to help people if and when I can, and I love that people feel safe enough to ask me for help. But it's so easy to forget that the same goes for other people, right? Like, if you're asking for too much help, again, it's up to the other person to say, no, I'm sorry, I can't help you. Like, it's not your responsibility to not ask for help. It's up to them to set the boundary and say, no, I'm sorry, I can't. But you're right, you can feel honored. Like, to know that someone trusts you enough to ask you for help is sweet. So I know I'm going through these kind of quickly, so please continue to comment. I want to hear what you guys have to say about this stuff. It's really, again, keep in mind, all of this is just to reframe your thinking about the everyday things, and to just sit back and take a moment and think about what they represent. And I do a gratitude journal every night, and in my gratitude journal last night was, of course, my pillow, but actually, no, it didn't make it last night, so I hadn't used it yet. But was, Lindsay asking for help. That was in my gratitude journal. So it's that daily practice of identifying gratitudes that helps the reframing become more of a habit. So as I go through these examples, again, it's all about how can you reframe things and experience the joy more deeply and overcome the challenges more easily. So that's what I want you to keep in mind. Another thing about stepping out of the comfort zone is my mom. My mom, who's visiting with her best friend, visiting my sister, and she texts all the kids to let us know she took an outdoor shower. She had never taken an outdoor shower, which is not, I'm sure a lot of people haven't taken an outdoor shower, but I have, and oh my God, it's amazing if you ever get the chance. So, again, stepping out of her comfort zone, a new experience, connecting with nature, feeling alive. Like, my mom is 80 years old, and I just imagine her taking this outdoor shower and just like loving it and looking up at the beautiful trees. And, I just think it must have been a moment for her, like an invitation to be super present in that moment. That's why I love new experiences so much is because when it's new, you kind of have no choice but to be present, because it's not routine, right? You have to figure, you have to figure out what to do next, kind of thing. So that's why, a lot of you hear me talk about stretch zone adventures. Like, how can you step out of your comfort zone intentionally and stretch? Because when you step out of that comfort zone, you get to experience something new. And when you do, you're much more apt to be present. And in the present moment, there is no problems. There are no problems. Grammar. I went to school for writing. In the present moment, there are no problems. Every problem lives in the past or in the future. Lives 1 minute behind us, 1 minute ahead of us. So new experiences bring you present when you can really just exhale and enjoy that moment. So, love it. Carol, when my daughter was 12, we had a mom-daughter weekend, and the cottage I rented had an outdoor shower looking out a wooded canyon. It is still one of our favorite memories, right? It's just so cool. Yeah, Sarah, stretching feels great. Sarah, it's time for a pedicure for you too. I saw your note that you had never had one either. Time for a pedi party. Not a pity party, a pedi party. Melissa, I knew she was thinking it. Mary, I went tent camping and rafted on a beautiful river this weekend, way out of my comfort zone, but loved it. Oh my God, Mary, I love that. Oh, you rafted on a river. Tell me where I want to go. I love that. Good for you. Like, that's just way out of your comfort zone, right? But you loved it. And I bet when you think back on it, you get those you get that rush, those endorphins, that dopamine goes out, like everything rushes back again. That's why experiences are so much better than things, right? You'll have that experience, you'll hold on to that experience much longer, the joy from that experience much longer than you would have, like, I don't know, a new blouse or something. You almost drowned Catherine, but it was fun. Why did you almost drown your sister? Was that intentional? That sounds fun, Mary. I love that. Yeah, think about how you can step out of your comfort zone. Love that so much. Lindsay, I got a pedicure this weekend for the first time in 5 years. I love it. I never go. My nails are so short, and for the first time, they didn't comment on it. Comfort is key. I love, good for you, Linz. I love that. Yeah, it's like, that's like that there. It's like, don't not get a pedicure. It's like, tell the person, listen, I'm not interested in your comments about how short my toenails are. Like, whatever. I'm so glad you went. Yes, I love this. I love that you guys are chiming in. So the other thing, I mentioned that we went to that fair, that Sail Fest, and Missy's brother and his fiance have a food truck. And we went there just to like visit them and see how they were doing and to sample the food. And it was just so nice to like seeing both of them, you know, Alba in particular. She's such an amazing cook and she just loves food and loves to make really great food. And so watching her in her element, I could just see her soul shining, right? She was just so happy. And even though like she didn't have a big smile on her face, I mean, she was busy, right? She was working hard. But her energy field was so bright and so proud. She was so proud, and Missy's brother too. Like that's the vibe I got off of him, was very, very proud. And he should be. He busted his ass getting that truck together. I mean, it was an empty shell that he coordinated, you know, the building out of it. And it's a beautiful, beautiful, really high-end food truck now. And this is like gourmet food that comes off this truck. Man, when I tried her, she made pork sliders. I thought it was going to be like a pulled pork sandwich. Oh, no, 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 no. Think of like a hamburger slider, but with pork instead of a hamburger patty. And she had her special recipe sauce on it. One of the customers asked what it was, and she wouldn't tell. I don't blame her. But like she just put these different, there was radishes in there. There were, I don't even know what else was in there, but like it was literally probably one of the top 5 things I've ever eaten in my life. Not kidding. Off of a food truck. Like this is a gourmet food truck. And to watch Missy's brother feel so proud and be so proud of it, and you could see that he was so appreciative that we came down to visit and see it, and to share in the celebration. It was just amazing, and to watch Alba in her element cook this amazing food. Yes, La Mesa food truck. Thanks, Miss, for putting it in there. You guys got to check it out. And I imagine, I can't speak for them, but they also offer catering. So I imagine they'd probably travel within New England. I'm not sure. You'd have to ask them. But they do catering, and I'm telling you, good Lord. I've only had the pork sliders, and I'm still talking about it. This was, I don't know, this was yesterday. Like, I went to bed thinking about them. I woke up thinking of them. My mouth was still salivating. Like, you know when you have a meal, and you just kind of, every bite, you just go, oh my God, this is so good. It was that. And this was a little pork slider. Like, Missy and I each had one little slider. I took teeny tiny bites because I didn't want it to stop. It was so good. Truck equals travel equals Nova Scotia. I don't know that they'd come to Nova Scotia, but so good. Hey, Mark, thanks for sharing. Yeah, but it's like being in the company of someone who is so happy and fulfilled with the work that they're doing, putting their passion into food that they love to create. It was inspiring to be around that. And so, although again it was just a visit to a food truck to support family, I can look back on that experience and not only think about those sliders. Oh my God. I know. But think about how happy they looked despite how busy it's busy to run a food truck, and SailFest is like a huge event. We went early before the crowds came, so we knew we'd have time to talk with them. But I guarantee after we left, thousands and thousands and thousands of people descend upon that event. But to watch them, they've had a struggle. We've had kind of parallel experiences. They have had as many obstacles building out that food truck as we have had with our tiny house. So we commiserate. And so we know that this is just such a huge deal for this to finally come to fruition for them, as it will be when our tiny house does, that it was just really great to go down and celebrate with them. And so I leave there, right? Even though, I don't do the food truck, but I get a contact high. Like I leave there like, God, I'm so happy for them. Like they've worked really hard to make this happen. So, so the moral of the story there is, really surrounding yourself with people who are loving life as best you can. Limit the time you spend with people who are just downers, who just see the negative in everything. There's that whole theory that you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Take inventory of the 5 people you spend the most time with and see if that's the type of average you want to be living by. So, being really cognizant about who you spend time with and who you surround yourself with. There's another saying that if you're the smartest person in the room, change rooms. To always try to be around at least some people who challenge you, inspire you, who make you excited to go for it, whatever it means to you. So that's what I felt visiting Brennan Alba at the food truck. And then, when I come back to, Kathy, it makes such a difference to have people who shine their light instead of trying to take others' light. Exactly. It's like, it's such a difference to be around positive people. I'm going to get on a soapbox very momentarily, I promise. It's so common for people to get together and just bitch and piss and moan and commiserate and, you think that's bad, listen to this. And, it's like it takes a lot of effort to encourage positive conversation. If I'm getting together with some old high school friends Friday night for dinner, and I will be very intentional or do my best to be very intentional to keep the conversation positive. That doesn't mean, I have some things I'd like to vent about with the tiny house and stuff, and it's nice to feel supported, and I'll probably share some of that with them. But my overall goal with them and with anyone else is to, if you focus on the negative is what will be in focus. So I don't want to focus on the negative. I might need to talk about it to get past it, but I don't want to hang out in Negativeville. I just made that up. Yeah. So that brings me to PMA, positive mental attitude, with the tiny house situation. So we had another setback, and it's like, with this setback, I finally hit the, what? Can we sell this freaking thing? Like, I'm over it. I'm done. What can we get for it? Let's just jump it into an RV after all and take off. But that was my initial reaction, with the setback. And I needed to let myself have that. Because, with all the setbacks that we've had, it's easy to go, okay, is the universe trying to tell me something here? But, again, let myself have the pity party, not the petty party, the pity party. Get pissed off, get aggravated, want to just throw in the towel and say enough is effing enough. But it's like, okay, I'm going to reframe this and say, we've had another setback. We're already on top of rectifying it, between me, Melissa, and the contractor who is occasionally available to work with us. We're already on top of rectifying it. We've already made great progress. And we're in talks with some other people who can potentially help us. But why not try to reframe it. It doesn't mean, you be all Pollyanna, kittens and rainbows with, when you're dealing with challenges in your life. But again, if you focus only on the negative, it's the negative that will be in focus. I don't want. Yes, there has been obstacle after obstacle after obstacle, but I know that happens building any kind of house. I know people who have taken 3 to 5 years to build their house, not their tiny house, like their regular primary residence, right? Because shit comes up. Stuff happens. This is kind of uncharted territory. There's not a lot of contractors who are experts in tiny house building, so it's a learn as you go process. And yes, it's a project we took on. At this stage, we're just not willing to throw in the towel. We can feel that way sometimes, but we can reframe it, adjust the attitude, and go, okay, we know what the problem is. What's the solution? What can we do to fix this? And let's focus on that. Yeah, Lindsay, but you guys have worked so hard and long on it, and you'll be so proud of yourself once it's done. I hope so. I know. You'll feel amazing knowing you did it all after the mishaps and complications. It's so true, Linz. It's like, that's what I try to do, right? When anytime that I've always kind of done this, like anytime I'm up against a challenge or something that feels scary, or I'll fast forward my mind and I'll go, what will it be like on the other side? Imagine looking back on the stories we'll have to tell. Like we've already said, we're going to write a book, How Not to Build a Tiny House. Or at least a blog series, How Not to Build a Tiny House, to help others avoid some of the mistakes we've made. Because, some of the issues we've dealt with are certainly mistakes of our own. Yeah, all material for your next book on tiny house builds. Exactly, Kathy. How Not to Build a Tiny House. But it's going to, when I think about the design of our house, and I think about when it's done, and I picture myself in the living room. Yes, I'll actually have a living room. And picture myself cooking in my little kitchen and having this beautiful, modern looking tiny house that we can pick up and take somewhere if we want to just have a change of scenery. Like that still gets me so excited and really warms my heart that helps me to face the challenges that we're up against still. So there's so much opportunity there for reframing, right? So along that same line, we have our court case next week with the contractor to get some of our materials money back. And so that's something, like with that coming up, that's a situation where I'll practice segment intending. I don't know if you're not familiar with that. It's an Abraham Hicks, Jerry and Esther Hicks process, and all it is when you have something coming up, you might be starting a new job, you might have to have a difficult conversation with someone, anything that could feel a little challenging. So when I think about the court case next week, part of me is excited for it because I love to debate and I love to be right, but when I think about segment intending, it's like, okay, so I imagine a day, and I'll write like a little paragraph down about how the day goes, and I will intend for it to be easy. Like, we arrive at the courthouse nice and early, we find parking with ease, we go in, the court case is called quickly. We sit down, or we go into I don't know, however the hell it's going to work, but, we sit down, we have all of our evidence, we have all of our documents, our photos, our videos, perfectly organized, easy to find and locate. The magistrate looks at our case, sees clearly that the work that was promised was not executed, and that the money we're out of pocket will be returned to us. We win our case, and we're easily paid by the contractor, within 60 days. So that's a very quick, off the top of my head, example of a segment intention. So it's a segment of your life that you then set your intention for how it's going to go. And it's amazing how that can really, it's the positive mental attitude, right? It puts you in a mindset instead of like, oh my God, we have to go to court next week. Like, what's it going to be like? I hope he, what if he doesn't show, or will we just get what if he doesn't pay us? Like, that whole like what if bullshit game. Not interested in playing it. It's like, we're going to go there. I'm going to have that intention for that segment of our lives. And you just go there with a different attitude. And not only that, but like a different energy. And when you walk in with that energy from having set that intention, you increase your chances for it to actually play out that way. Again, not magic or woo-woo or airy-fairy BS. The whole world is an energetic conversation. Why not arrive to the courthouse with energy of an easy solution? It's going to be an easy resolution. We don't think the guy's a bad guy, so I'm not like dreading seeing him, and it's just like, I'm just going to go there. I'm going to be polite. I'm going to, we're going to state the facts. We're going to show our evidence, and we're going to trust that what needs to happen will happen. That, like, something like this could be so contentious and be so aggravated and frustrating, but I'm going to choose for it not to be, right? You have the power. You have the choice for a difficult situation. You don't have to make a difficult situation more difficult by your approach to it, or by your attitude, or by your resistance, or by your expectations for things to go awful. Like, why not have expectations of a positive, easy outcome? Because again, what did we say? Focus on the negative, and it's the negative that's in focus. Oh my goodness, if I ramble tonight. Tell ya. That's what you guys get when I actually prepare. Get a whole lot of me talking. You are so committed to it. Inspiring and energetic, even with setbacks. Thank you, Sarah. I'm trying. Thanks, Kathy. Prayers for an easy and successful resolution. Returned with interest. Yes, we are. We'll hope for the best. I'm just excited that we've got a date, and we'll see how it goes. So what is something in your life that could use some reframing, or that could use that you could use to settle in and celebrate the joy more? What is something that inspires you, or someone who inspires you? Like what is something in your life right now that you have the opportunity to kind of reframe, look at differently? Another important lesson, like, I'm a clutter freak, right? I don't like to have clutter, or what it means. This past weekend when we were helping Missy's parents with a moving sale, they sold their house. The closing is like a week away. And so this was the final push for them to get rid of a bunch of stuff. And they have beautiful stuff, but I hear people show up at the tag sale. That's what they call it out there. I call it a yard sale. Show up at the sale, and they say things like, wow, this is really beautiful. I mean, I have no idea where I'd put it, but it's so pretty. You know what? I'm just going to buy it, and I'll find a spot for it. I'm like, ugh. Or, I don't really need this, but, I mean, how could I pass it up? It's only, $10. And I'm thinking, if you don't need it, you didn't just save a bunch of money. You spent $10. And now you have something you don't really need. There were so many people there who, and, it was myself included. As we're setting up, I'm like, oh, this is really beautiful. We must have a use for this, right? And I would be trying to, like, rack my brain thinking about how could we use this because it's so pretty. Like, there was a shelving unit that Melissa wanted, and I was like, I don't really think that, it's not going to fit in the tiny house. I don't know what we're going to do with it. But she was like, but I really, really love it. We put it in the car, and then the next day, the day of the yard sale, she's like, yeah, you're right. We should take it back out. It's like, it's something that we both loved, but we just don't have a use for it. So why clutter up, right? Like, why clutter up your life? So it was interesting, to just see our consumerist society in action, of people who are buying things just to buy them, buying things just because they're cheap. But then it was also nice to see some people who were like, oh my gosh, I was just running out to the store to pick up this, and you have it right here. That was kind of cool. You should also give them an advance copy of your book, More Clients. Give who? Oh, right. Yeah. I don't have any advance copies yet. I'm eagerly awaiting them. But we did find this at the yard sale. Let me show you this. Well, who's that? That's Melissa in her duck costume when she was in a dance recital as a little girl. She just went, oh God. Come on, how cute is that? Yep, I'm going to hold it up there to make sure everyone gets a good shot of it. Oh my God, so cute. Anyway, so that was fun. So we took that home with us, and now it sits right here near my desk. Get her little like, so cute. Anyway, I thought that'd be a nice way to wrap it up. She is so adorable. Oh, the lighting is terrible right now. Sorry, I'm very... I look like I'm foggy. Oh, that's the app. It puts a Michelle, very cute, but why were they selling it? They weren't selling the picture of her. Oh, that's funny. Did you see that, miss? Yeah. Carol, today I was thinking Mom's Alzheimer's has given me an opportunity to meet so many nurturing and genuine people to come alongside me and support me in this season of life. I am finding this time is special, sometimes even humorous. That's great, Carol. That's tough. But yeah, like that's the blessing in it, right? It's like, wow, you're meeting lots of really nurturing and supportive and loving people who are supporting you along the way, and you are probably being encouraged to receive help and support. So I'm thinking of you and your mom and sending you guys lots of love. Yeah. Awesome. All right, guys. I do look like I'm in a fog when I look at the screen. I don't know. It's the app. Whatever. It's the oh God, what's her name? And I'll probably be dating myself if I think of it. Who was the woman? She's an older actress. Her name is Candace, and she always had like a huge soft light around her. She was very particular about her lighting. Shit. It's Candace someone. Candace Bergen? Whatever. It really doesn't matter. But anyway. Oh, hi, Lindy. Candace Bergen. Yeah, I was right. That's right, Kathy. Hi, Lindy. Bye, Lindy. We're wrapping up. Thanks for joining. You can watch the replay. All right, guys. I realized that the shirt I chose this evening is way too warm for this time of year. I have to go change. I'm still overtired from the weekend. All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining me again. It's good to have you back here. Remember, go to my website, KerriRichardson.com. Grab that pre-order of the book. And look on my calendar page for any book talks I have coming up or online events. I'm going to be on several radio shows, writing some articles for some websites, etc. So you can check out my calendar page for upcoming events. And yeah, I think that's that. So we'll see you back here next week, same time, same place. Thanks, everybody. Bye.